Are you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are the quantum mechanics.
Also known as the justified ancients of woo-woo.
If you're interested in the paranormal and the high strangeness, we're the podcast for you.
Whether you're a believer, a doubter, or somewhere in between.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Peter.
And we are the Quantum Mechanics.
Yes, we are the Quantum Mechanics. We always start when we've got a new Patreon, and we have a new Patreon. Thank you, C.R. Keller, for joining us at patreon.com/TQM pod. If you've listened to us before, you probably know what you get. But in summary, you get the main podcast, this one, a week early. You get the exclusive Patreon-only episode, Ben and Peter's Extra Scoop. And been trying to bump that up a little bit, haven't we? Rather than just talking about the episode that we've done, we've tried to include a lot more additional material now. So I think it's got better. Not that it was bad.
New and improved.
New and improved, that's what I was looking for. Access to the Discord server, and thanks to one of our Patreons who's made the request that we list the books that we cover and review in the Discord so we can talk about those and people can check them out. So we've done that as well. Lovely community building, but most of all, you help us support the podcast and keep us on the road, as we like to say. So thank you to C.R. Keller and all our Patreons at patreon.com/TQM pod, or you can get there by clicking the link in the show notes, depending on where you get your podcast.
Perfectly read. Thank you very much.
Slightly quick at the end, but
I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's get
what we got today, Ben.
Okay, so we often talk about interactions with ghosts and what our theories of ghosts are.
Yep.
And I came across this book by Mary Ann Winkowski.
Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
Well, not that one.
Not that one, although I'd forgotten that we had that on our soundboard. She is the creator of... so the book is called When Ghosts Speak, Understanding the World of Earthbound Spirits. But she is the creator of The Ghost Whisperer.
Ah, okay. Yep.
Which, when I was in satellite television, that was one of the hottest properties when they were hoiking it around. The scripts were flying to different bidders. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise that she'd written a book about it. The thing about this book is that not only does she have a theory on why there are ghosts there, but she also describes them, and I guess I'm putting slightly words in her mouth, but not really. They're a bit tedious, and I quite like that.
A bit boring.
Well, not necessarily boring, but tedious. It's like if you just had a random person in your house.
Right.
So what she's done is kind of take apart the aspect of, because I'd always thought, what is so evil about making your toaster pop up early?
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, it's just like my really annoying friend.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what's going on here. It reminded me a little bit of the Ricky Gervais film, one of his early films, Ghost Town, when I think he's a dentist and he can see people around him, ghosts, right, and they're just kind of annoying him. So this is a little bit like that, but she relays loads and loads of stories about ghosts that she has interacted with. Now, I will have a big, large, truck-sized caveat that it might be that she is just a writer of stories, and she has done this to create a television show, which she did successfully.
Right.
But she claims it is all real. It is, a factual book. And I'm not going to doubt her. I'm just saying, if you're saying to me, Ben, yeah, right, okay, I understand why you're saying that. I really do.
Well, as we say on the podcast, we'll just go with it. And to get us in that mood...
Yeah. So in that vein, you should know as well, she's a devout Catholic, and you didn't need to know this, but she's also a former dog groomer. So,
was she charged? I know.
Are you allowed to make jokes like that? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, let us start. I guess I want to lay out the architecture of her belief, because I think that's important to understand where she's coming from.
Okay.
So a bit like other people who write about this, she says that when you die, a light appears, and she calls it the white light. And she makes a point of putting it with a capital L. You see, because with her, she says it's not a metaphor. It really is a huge bright light that you can walk towards. And she describes it as, for most people, that being the end of the story. The light comes, and then on the other side of it, the people you love are waiting inside it. You walk in and you're gone, crossed over.
And she knows about this because of her communications with ghosts. Right?
That's right, yes. And I think that isn't like a big deal for us to say. I think that is literally the point of a lot of these things, including, if you remember that show Crossing Over with John Edwards, that is the point of it. But the other side of it is, I think, where this gets interesting, because she says if you refuse to go in, and that might be fear, anger, unfinished business, or she points out sheer bloody minded stubbornness.
Right.
The light does close, and when it does, you become stuck, and that's when you become an earthbound spirit, a ghost.
Right.
And she says that when you cross over, it doesn't upgrade your soul. You don't suddenly understand the secrets of the cosmos. As Mary Ann puts it, earthbound spirits as well, they don't know anything more about the lives and powers of the spirit world than they did when they were alive. So you have this I guess, two-tier system where the earthbound ghosts, they have no idea what's happening in the other realm. So if you speak to an earthbound spirit and say, oh, it must be lovely where you were, well, they're just where you are.
Okay, so they haven't seen what's on the other side.
No, exactly, no.
Right. So we don't know what's on the other side by implication, right? Because you can't come back once you've gone through?
Well, so it might be possible to communicate from the other side.
Okay.
But what she is saying is that every ghost you've ever heard about is just a person who was shown the light and said, nah, I'm good.
Okay, so they come from the in-between.
They come from the in-between.
Yeah.
So she sort of says, why would anybody refuse? And it's because we're all human. Earthbound spirits do not eat and they do not sleep, but what they do need and what they're desperately hunting for is energy. And we've heard this a lot of times before as well. Yeah. You know, ghost hunters consistently claim that the batteries in their equipment die, torches die, and we find, you know, we've had accounts of even cars dying as well. Where they get most of their energy from, though, is from the living, from our emotional support energy and our physical energy, I guess is what you'd call like an energy vampire.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, probably one of the most genuinely useful ideas in the whole book, because it reframes what we mean about a haunted house and what it means to be haunted. So the cold spots, the flickering lights, the exhaustion of people who exist in there, and the family who become angry at each other, the divorces that happen in these haunted houses, that isn't because there is kind of an evil or spooky atmosphere. In her model, that is just the parasite feeding. She says flatly, the more energy a ghost absorbs, the less you have.
Right.
That makes sense to me as well.
So it's draining you in that, well, vampire, yeah, by implication, but it's actually almost physically draining you.
Yes, it is physically draining you, yeah. Right, yeah. And it also explains some other things, because she points out the rowdier the room, the better. So some of those places do end up being emergency rooms, bars, police stations, sports arenas, right. All of these places where, so in a different kind of mental framing, we would say, oh, in a hospital emergency room, the ghosts are there because they don't know that they're dead. Well, in this case, perhaps they do know that they're dead, but all of the energy, be it negative or positive, that's coming through there, that's what they're feeding on.
God, so backstage or in the hotel room of The Who in the 1970s, that would have been a good place to hang, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Ghost, an energy vampire.
Yeah. Well, she does say, like, theatres and sports, right. You know, sports stadiums, but also performance stadiums. You know, that explains why I suppose theatres have a rich history of being haunted as well, because it's not just the energy of the performance, it's all the audience who are getting involved in the story. Interestingly, she says when she started working on television and started visiting her own publishers, when she got the book out, she discovered that publishing houses are absolutely heaving with ghosts. She said she'd imagined the book industry as like this quiet, tranquil thing. And she said that she found floors and floors of high energy individuals. And that's where the energy is attractive to the dead. And they're all like, as she describes it, queuing up at the buffet.
And when we talk about energy in this context, is she talking about emotions? Or...
She's talking about emotions,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And she points out this makes sense because they're dealing in stories which are basically of emotional manipulations.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense that that's where the ghosts go.
And newspapers, journalists, I'm thinking that.
Yes.
Well, that'd be a good place, wouldn't it?
I would also think newsrooms.
Yeah.
Basically, once you've understood the light appears and you refuse it and you're trapped and then you're hungry, all the stories I'm about to tell you kind of make more sense. And some of them are actually quite funny because a lot of these ghosts are cross about really small things.
Right.
So let's start with a case that she calls the silverware butler.
Right.
Mary Ann gets a call from a woman she'd helped years before. She's an obsessive flea market and estate sale shopper, particularly of vintage silver, spoons, forks, cups, the works. And she's got a running joke that she's always losing her silverware, always misplacing the odd fork for years. Then she decides to renovate her kitchen. The contractors start pulling out the ceiling and a rain of silver comes pouring out.
From the ceiling?
From the ceiling. Wow. 60 pieces of cutlery hidden up in the ceiling cavity. Wow. Every lost fork and spoon from a decade of shopping.
Wow.
So Mary Ann arrives and she meets the culprit. And it turns out to be an extremely grumpy ghost of a man who had been a butler for a posh family.
Okay.
When he was alive, he was outraged that the family's children sold off the silver after their parents died. So his ghost followed this woman home from an estate auction once and spent 10 years stealing her cutlery one piece at a time and stashing it in the ceiling out of pure principle. So
let me just get this straight. She's bought the cutlery that he used to look after, or...
Well, no, so it's in general. So she bought the cutlery that he was attached to once. He came home with her, then realised that she was collecting all this silver cutlery, and just the principle of collecting silver cutlery from these families, he took exception to.
Okay. So he did come with the cutlery, in a way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay.
he did.
Yeah, right.
And what's really interesting is that after a while, because she was collecting all sorts of different pieces of silver, he confessed that his kind of haunting lost its meaning. So he was collecting forks, but they were all from different cutlery sets, and he was just like getting disappointed. So it's a bit like, you have the same infatuation with people selling on Lego sets, and you just keep collecting the heads of the Lego people.
Yeah. He was creating his own problem, though, wasn't he?
He was creating his own
problem.
problem.
Because he's hiding it. She's going, I need to get some more then.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So when he gets caught, he's actually a bit relieved. And then she says to him, look, this is probably the time for you to cross over. And he does. And it was this annoyance with him, and it all starts back in his corporeal life when he sort of found he was so meticulous about looking after the possessions of the family, for that's what he was paid for. And when the children took over, as I say, he found that they had no regard for it at all, and it almost diminished his own life. And so what he was trying to do was put meaning back into his sort of earthbound life by stealing the forks. So we would look at this as a mischievous poltergeist, I think.
Yeah.
And
but
you think
there's a
rationale to it, yeah. But why would it be stealing just the silver? Well, that's the reason.
And maybe there isn't this detail, but silver kind of spoils, doesn't it? Quite quickly. You have to keep it polished. That's what people need.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Were these polished, or were they in the condition you would expect them in? Do we know?
That isn't given.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't he? Not only has he taken them, but he's kept them clean.
Is he continue to polish them? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. That detail is probably lost. But
probably not. Otherwise, they would have said, wouldn't they?
I think they probably would have said. That would have been wonderful, though, if she just heard this kind of, what is that noise? And it's just the very, very gentle sound of a cloth on some silver up in the roof.
I wish I could get a ghost that was obsessed with emptying the dishwasher.
Well, we have... how
good would that be?
You know my system that I believe in, the double dishwasher.
Yeah.
Double dishwash. Absolutely you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
sorry. That system, just if anybody knows. I think there was a guy who proposed it. That really interesting guy who does all the marketing stuff. Yeah, 2 dishwashers. You fill one, you clean, then you fill the other one, and then you just keep taking the stuff out
the
of
plates that you
the one
need,
that's
you take
clean.
out of the clean one, and then those 2 plates go immediately back in the dirty one, and you shift between the two.
Yeah, you don't
It
need
makes
so much
no-
cupboard space as well.
And you don't need to do that. You open it up, and there's 23 glasses to put back on the shelf.
Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, I love that idea.
Anyway, perhaps we can find a ghost to do that. Back to the story.
Sorry. Sorry, you've got me on with specialist subject.
This episode is brought to you by Fairy
Calgon.
Calcon. Isn't that for washing machine?
Oh, is it? Okay.
I don't know.
Oh,
I know.
damn.
Oh, yeah. Washing machines live longer with
Yeah, no,
Calgon.
it's washing machines, isn't it? Oh, I don't know what the... It's a Powerball. It's always a Powerball.
Finish.
Yeah, that'll do.
There we go. Let's
I
move,
have.
Let's move on to the. Let's move on to the Jim Casanova. This is appropriate. The Jim Casanova. I'll have to be careful about how I describe this, but he's a muscle-bound, satin sheet, circular bed type of guy, and he calls
Waterbed, I'm seeing.
Yeah. He's a Casanova.
Yeah.
He calls Mary Ann because every single time he brings a date back from his health club, he's suddenly struck with a catastrophic and unromantic case of stomach trouble. Is the only way of putting it.
Right.
And at the worst possible moment, he feels like he's being observed, and he begins to realise that this is probably an issue with paranormal.
Or he's forgotten he's got a mirror on the ceiling.
I don't know why anyone would do that.
Oh, imagine seeing a ghost in the mirror in the ceiling in that scenario. That'd be scary. That'd be a good movie thing, wouldn't it? The Casanova looks up and there's... Whoa.
Oh, actually, that is quite a good scene.
That's almost like you could do a kind of variation of the what's it, the room in The Shining, couldn't you? You could do a variation of that. Wow, okay, sorry.
I see dead people getting jiggy like real people.
Yeah.
No, the worst thing about a mirror above the bed on the ceiling is that it could crash down in the middle of the night and kill you. I think.
Well,
anyway,
so could the ceiling, though, could it not?
Anyway,
Sorry, I'm making this really difficult for you, aren't I, today? I'm sorry.
Mary Ann investigates and finds the ghost.
Hold on.
Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.
Sorry.
I wish I'd never found a Derek Agora
You
clip
put it
over
on the
I know I
board.
did. I'm going to take it off again.
Right, okay, so I'll bring us back to some sanity. We've got this Casanova, he's got the swanky bed, he's bringing these women back. When he's kind of getting into his Casanova-ish flow,
Yes.
he suddenly starts feeling bad stomachache.
That's right. He comes out of the ensuite wearing a pair of tiger skin pants.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. So Mary Ann investigates and finds that the ghost of a woman from the gym who'd become attached to him and followed him home was essentially sabotaging his love life out of jealousy. So when she sits down and talks to this ghost, she just feels like this man should have been hers. She was with him at the gym the entire time. The reason she followed him back was so that she could spend all her time with him because she had fallen in love with him.
Spectral stalker.
A spectral stalker. But she didn't really understand that it was never going to work because she was dead. So Mary Ann has this real honest conversation with her. And although Mary Ann says she genuinely considered leaving the ghost exactly where she was, she describes it as a public service to the women of that gym.
So like almost deliberately just leaving it.
Yes.
Brilliant.
She does
Brilliant.
actually convince the ghost to move on.
Go away. It's
and
not worth it.
It isn't worth it. Look at those pants. Those trousers are far too tight for him. I don't know what he thinks he looks like. I imagine him as being called Kirk.
Yeah. Black satin sheets? No.
But I love that sort of...
I loved that she was going to go, yeah, I got rid of it. No, I haven't.
Yeah. Well, it was not a nice thing to do for either of them, really. Anyway, the ghost goes, but again, it was just having this honest conversation with her.
Getting slightly serious, if I come back to the concept of the light, right? So the light opens up, you go, I'm not going through, the guy from the gym, I'm still obsessed with him, whatever the reason is. When Mary Ann goes to the house, how does she get that light to appear again? Is there a process to that, or is it just convincing?
It's basically she opens up the light using sort of the power of, I think, prayer with a small p. She is able to open that portal.
Some kind of
That's one of the things
incantation.
that she can do. Yeah. And it's about sort of love and things like that. That bit isn't particularly the interesting bit, but she's able to reopen this portal for
Right, but it is her that's opening it up for them.
It's the conversation between them and their realization, which means it opens up, because it's more about the individual that is the ghost having the desire to walk through there. The reason the portal closes is because they don't have the desire to go through.
Yeah.
As soon as they do, the loved ones on the other side understand that they do, and they want to welcome them. They want to welcome them in. On that point, I can't help thinking it's a little bit embarrassing for the woman in the gym situation. Why are you so late? Well,
there was this guy.
Yes, this guy. Yeah, exactly. This one I really like, because this one is sort of uncovered by her almost by accident. So she and her husband stop at a roadside diner on the way home from a day of, and this is just their normal life, attending viewings at funeral homes.
Right.
She clocks a ghost there, a big, mean-looking guy with a crew cut and tattoos, white T-shirt, and she says he's glaring at one of the young waitresses. Mary Ann gets to watch in real time as this ghost slips behind the counter and switches off the coffee machines. You see, this is what I was talking about,
right.
the poltergeist-like behaviour, which to us makes no sense. The older waitress storms out and chews out the young one for turning off the pots again.
Right.
Then 10 minutes later, the ghost walks up behind the waitress who's carrying their food and physically tips the back of her tray up until the whole order crashes on the floor. The poor girl bursts into tears. Mary Ann is sitting there in the booth thinking she has absolutely no idea that she's being stalked by a dead man with a grudge.
She's having a bad enough day already. You're going to tell her that?
Yeah. Wow. Well, so basically this guy, it's more the interest that she's watching all this happen and they don't know what's going on.
She literally can see dead people.
She literally can see dead people. Yeah. And this guy has a grudge, and the grudge is simply that he can't eat in that diner anymore. He used to love eating in there. He used to love the whole having a cigarette, having the coffee, the chat and everything.
Tuna melt.
Now... that's what it used to be called. The whole thing of being in this diner, and now that's taken away from him. He doesn't want anyone else to have it. And once she points out to him, and again, it's not a long conversation, you'll never be able to do this again, but there are better things behind the light. He does go. She points out to him, it's a futile existence, annoying 19-year-old girls who are basically just trying to shop coffee around. It's not fair.
But that is, so getting back to his motivation, is that just frustration, or is that connected to the energy as well, or both?
It is both, basically. It's both. Once he realises that this is a ridiculous thing to do, he will go on. He goes on, and she just helps him.
Did the waitress's boss buy it?
It stops.
Okay.
So whether they believe it or not, it doesn't really matter because it stops.
Yeah.
There's a whole load of this really kind of annoying, petty stuff that is keeping people earthbound. But there is another side to this as well, which she goes into. And she's got a whole framework for child ghosts. Babies and infants, she says, she never sees. She believes guardian angels take them straight into the light, and she has extraordinary passages about arriving at a fatal car incident and seeing a dead baby being cradled in midair by an unseen presence, which turns out to be a long-dead great-grandmother standing perfectly straight, even though she'd been stooped with a dowager's hump in life. Right. I mean, make of that what you will. It's an interesting way of describing what happens with children and the fact, this idea that they're immediately whizzed off. And then she says that she can see these other ancestral spirits around them. I struggle to understand why that would be the case just for children. I mean, Mary Ann makes the case that it's possibly because they won't understand who their ancestors are. Those people won't mean anything to them. Yeah. And them calling to them would just freak them out more than make them feel comfortable or confident.
But that also kind of implies there's a kind of age limit of when that happens, right?
That's right. Yeah, and we don't know what that is. And again, I find that kind of a difficult concept because in the other lore of ghosts, we've seen an awful lot of like Victorian children.
Yeah.
So she doesn't really address that as something, doesn't address that as a problematic aspect to this.
And then, although there's not so many where people report manifestations of babies, but certainly babies crying is very, is associated with lots of hauntings, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, but let's go with it. Let's say Mary Ann can see this stuff. Is she just seeing it all the time?
She is seeing it all the time, yeah.
It must be so weird.
Well, that's why I say it's like that Ricky Gervais film, because he sees it all the time.
Yeah.
But where I was just going with that thread of we see child ghosts all the time, let's just delve into that just a little bit further, because at that there must be a cut-off point, right? Which is where the children don't go. And what she points out about that cut-off point is that the children, as they become older, or the very young people, I don't know whether they're children, let's say it's 10.
Yeah.
They lose interest in toys, they become teenagers, but in their sort of the visage that you see of them on this earthly plane, it doesn't age, because in her world, ghosts don't age. They're the same age as when they were born, when they died.
Right.
But she says that they can progress in their interests. So if they kind of move beyond, being a teenager, what you end up with is a bored, lonely ghost that goes looking for a new family. Right. So she describes them as following families home from libraries, petting zoos, even schools, drawn to the fact that there are other children and a lot of toys because they are just so bored. But they might mentally have moved on from that. That's her point. They might go there because they feel like they want to be around toys, but when they get there, they don't, because they've grown out of it. So that is kind of the reason why you get these poltergeists that you've seen them on the YouTube videos, where the children's playroom and the toys come alive at night, or let's say a toy pram gets pushed across the room. That's a particularly good trope. Those make sense in the idea of a bored child ghost which has now got an adult's viewpoint on the world, if you see what I mean.
But I was thinking a couple of things of, out of all the groups, it must be pretty tough to get a teenager to go through the light. They don't want to go anywhere that they're told.
No.
So there's that one. And the other thing that I thought about that is there is this association with poltergeist activity and teenagers. I'm thinking of the Enfield poltergeist, all that kind of stuff. If you followed her logic, maybe it's just they want to hang with someone their own age.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
She also points out that this doesn't happen for all children. I kind of struggle with this because I felt like there were probably more, like, as I say, Victorian child ghosts than anything else. But anyway, we'll go with the book. So she describes in one instance, being called to what she describes as a chaotic house, negative energy, a teenager with mental health struggles, and a mother who does tarot readings without protecting herself. So she's already lighting up the astral plane and sort of illustrating her presence there, which is dangerous enough.
The red flags are going off all over the place.
Sitting quietly in the living room is a girl dressed in clothing from the late 30s or early 40s who speaks with a German accent. Mary Ann asks her how old she is, and the child holds up 3 fingers. Then the girl tells her this story, that her parents sent her from Germany to America to live with an Aunt Esther, an Uncle Harry, and a cousin. Her parents promised that they'd follow, but they never came. Aunt Esther was cruel. The little girl describes getting sick after eating peaches that came in a glass jar. Peaches Aunt Esther fed her every morning in her oatmeal. And then her stomach hurt and hurt more, and then she was coughing up blood. Then her tummy didn't hurt anymore, and Aunt Esther didn't speak to her ever again. She's, of course, describing in a matter-of-fact voice what sounds like a slow poisoning.
Right.
And for decades since, she has drifted from house to house, following children until she landed where she got to.
So in that, by implication, Aunt Esther polished her off, basically, finished her off.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is put forward as a reason why it's possible that she wasn't carried off by a guardian angel, because there was not. So the guardian angel, in the previous case that I mentioned, she said, there's a great grandmother, but it's possible that this child was so disconnected from the core family because she'd been sent away. I don't really know how this might work, but she
believes this, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. That's why I said you have to you have to take some big strides across crocodile heads with this one.
But also, if you follow it through, for why? You know what I mean? That almost seems like punishing the child more.
Well, yeah, but it might be she might be left there by accident. I think that's really what the point of this story is.
Error.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I was just describing, the mother of this house complains that the electronic toys that she buys for her grandkids keep switching them on, themselves on, no matter how many times she resets them or changes the battery. And the little girl ghost tells Mary Ann, sometimes I like to make them all go at once. So in this instance, what she does is basically explain to the girl that there is a place to go and opens the light, and she doesn't need to hang around with children. But she's perplexed by the light, and it's only with a kind voice talking her through that it works. Now, Mary Ann sort of says, this has never happened to her for one reason or another, and as soon as she explains it, she's happy to go. Again, like you say, I think there's a plot hole here, but
the other thing I'm thinking with this is, does Mary Ann have a concept of almost some similar concept to heaven and hell, or does everyone go through the light? I'm just fearful for this small child.
Yeah.
Aunt Esther could be waiting on the other side.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's you must go, take me back.
No, in her world, although she is a Catholic, she really sees going through the light as going to a place of love. And
whoever you are, whatever you've done.
Whoever you are, whatever you've done.
Yeah.
And if you believe in a God, then the God is the love. If you just believe in something else, then that also is the love. And evil turns to, is diluted with love. Now, that's praising kind of what she's saying, but that's
something about the process. If you were evil, let's take Aunt Esther. Something about the process of going through the light would kind of, I don't know, cleanse you of that.
Yeah, because as she says,
cure you of that.
You're the same person that you were on Earth if you're an earthbound spirit, but you do change if you go up to the light.
Right.
But you see what I mean about how all this sounds a bit too Hollywood.
The problem I have with this, and I don't mean it necessarily with Mary Ann and this thing, but it's like when you do research about this is how ghosts and spirits work, and I always have that feeling of, or if people say to me of just like, oh, you look at all this stuff all the time, you must be an expert. How can I be an expert? I've got no idea what goes on. Can you really? No, I mean, okay, if we take Mary Ann at her word, she is seeing dead people all the time and communicating with them, but that doesn't necessarily, to me, mean she knows what's going on through the light, even if you accept her explanation. That would only give her knowledge of people who've not gone through the light. So I find that hard.
Yes, and there have been some terrifying warnings about what that light is. The most terrifying being that it's an alien stealing your soul. That's something we covered.
Because there's a difference between a theory, isn't there, and somebody saying this is how it is.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why she would be compelled to write "This is how it is" because it sells better.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to understand.
Yeah.
And those plot holes can be patched over with yes, but in this case, or look, here's one that I think does read like a crime novel. That's the reason I put it in.
Do you think if we stop saying we've got no idea what's going on, we'd be much more successful?
Yeah.
We know exactly what's going on. We're the quantum mechanics. We understand everything.
We'd be like one of those corporate podcasts where, we'd post on LinkedIn with some kind of terribly written AI copy. Going, here are the 10 reasons your small business is failing. Sign up to our Substack now.
Wow.
So, as I say, this one feels like it was written for television.
Yeah.
Because Mary Ann is on holiday at what she describes as a sprawling ranch in Arizona. And she notices the ghost of a young girl playing by a koi pond. Mary Ann's technique with frightened children is that she doesn't approach. She goes gently and sits by the fountain and starts talking to herself out loud about how much she likes the pretty yellow fish, and wonders aloud what the name of it is. And a little voice whispers, Goldie. She really liked early hip-hop rave.
Yeah.
And the girl has names, all of the koi. And over a couple of visits, gently, Becky, that is the name of the child, tells her the truth. She was hit on the head by a man. She woke up in a room that was hot and dark and full of fire. She saw the white light, and even though she saw her older brother walk into it, she didn't follow him. She just wanted to get out of that strange house. So she wandered out, found a library she half remembered her mother taking her to, saw a small boy there, followed him home to the ranch, and started playing in the yard and naming the koi.
Right.
Because Mary Ann pieces it all together with the local sheriff. He's this cowboy hat and spurs character she calls Buck. Becky's biological father, being sued for child support, had taken Becky and her brother, set his house on fire, and killed them both. Mary Ann gets the names, the family details, and feeds them back to Buck, who'd had an open arson case with 2 dead children and no breaks. By the time Mary left Arizona, the police had shifted focus to the father and expected to charge him with the murders. And Becky, well, Mary Ann made the light, told her she'd find her brother on the other side, and the girl crossed over. It's just a little bit...
Well, it's got that... and it's almost a bit solving a murder as well, isn't it?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like solving a murder... she's found a butler who's been hiding forks. This really is like an Angela Lansbury kind of situation here. I mean, it's very charming. It's very charming.
Yeah.
And as I say, there are quite a lot of laughs throughout it. I don't know. But let's just talk about the stuff that means something to her, because I think it's unfair to criticise the stories without knowing a bit more about her.
Yeah.
So the crossing over bit herself, she traces back to her grandmother, who had a version of the same gift and used to take Mary Ann along to funerals, which it's a sentence and a half in its own right, isn't it?
Just random funerals.
Yeah.
Right.
And her grandmother taught her how to make how to make the light by visualising the setting sun, growing a single point of brilliant white light in her mind, and surrounding herself with the love that I was describing. And when she visualises the opening of it like a doorway, the spirits very often see their own dead loved ones waiting inside because of the love she is projecting and presumably the proximity she has to the person that needs that light. See, that bit is never explained. I don't understand how you could do that without being very specific about who you're opening for. But anyway, let's just,
Okay, yeah.
Then there's another curious thing about quince seeds. And this bit I had to read twice to kind of fully understand. Mary Ann's family back in a tiny village in Italy grows and sells quince and sells the seeds. Okay. Once a house is cleared of ghosts, they place a single energised quince seed over each doorway, and she swears it stops earthbound spirits from being able to enter. Okay. She's completely upfront that she has no idea how this works. She just knows that for her, it absolutely does. And she gives energised seeds to nurses, police officers, bartenders, all those people in ghost-attracting jobs to carry home so that they know nothing follows them home. But there's a critical warning attached, which is kind of like, this is from a horror movie, you must never put the quince seed up unless you are 100% certain that the house is already empty. Because if there's a ghost still inside when you seal the doorway, you lock it in. Right. And now you've got an angry trapped spirit with nowhere to go and a very specific reason to be upset with you. So she basically claims that this energised quince seed thing comes from her family in Italy.
Have I got deja vu about this? I've got some weird memory of quince seeds that we've talked about before. Am I just can't work out if it's deja vu or we have? Can you remember?
I can't remember anything about quince seeds, but we've been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah, maybe.
And I hate quince with cheese. Yeah. I've looked it up. It isn't a widespread tradition. That I have found other references to people.
So it's not I doubt if I'd have got it then.
It does have some mysticism around the fruit.
Right.
But there's nothing specific. I almost feel like it's an idiosyncrasy that she introduces to herself to kind of add something to it. Because
she's just bought quinseeds.com.
Hauntedquinseeds.com.
Yeah.
Her wider toolkit is just kind of a mix of, like I said, Catholicism. There's some Italian traditions. So, for example, sea salt.
Yeah.
She sprinkles that on antiques before you puts them in the car. Smoke sticks of sage. We know all that.
Big sage.
And then she talks a lot about curses. She's adamant that a ghost cannot curse you. Only a living person can. A curse, in her telling, is just negative energy directed at a target over and over until it sticks.
Right.
And she compares it to going in a line, over a colouring book line with a black crayon until it's thick and dark.
So in that sense, it would. I can gather she wouldn't believe in possession.
No, she doesn't talk about possession. She doesn't.
Yeah.
But she does talk. She does have a story about being flown in a corporate jet at Cleveland Airport to lift a curse off a sports team off a sports team's franchise paperwork. Just the organisation, not the players. She won't name them, but she thinks that flying in a particular route, basically, it's like a sigil. Takes a curse off some paperwork. So people are actually paying her to do this kind of thing.
Which sounds like a weird thing, but as we covered before when we did that PK Man episode, that guy, he was paid to help a struggling baseball team, I think it was.
That's right. Yes, it was a baseball team.
Yeah. So it's not unheard of.
No, not at all. No. But all of the stories she's very keen to point out, none of them are trapped by curses or fear of demons or anything. They're trapped by their own unfinished business or unfinished feelings.
Right.
She says the afterlife, it isn't a punishment handed down. It's like a trap that we build, and it's the individuals that she's met that have convinced her out of that, basically. So she describes it as a great cosmic joke that the door is right there, right in front of them. The light comes for them, and she's very clear on this. For murderers and evil people, the only thing standing between them and the spirits having peace is their own refusal to walk through it. And that is because of the earthbound beliefs people associate with this light, because it has become... You just mentioned walking into the light, and even people who aren't in the paranormal frame of mind will know exactly what we're talking about.
Just thinking of that line in Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Stay away from the light, Caroline.
And there are other people who were dragged away from the light. So she's got this story about a mother named Mindy who's got a 5-year-old son called Joey who died of cancer. And basically, it's the mother who refused to let him cross over because she could feel him snuggling in her bed at night. Yeah. And Mary Ann had to sort of gently, patiently talk her into letting her own child go. And in that case, although she talks about, these children being taken away by the rest of the family, because the mother is so involved in this, the rest of the family don't get a chance to come in. So when I said at the front, like, stubbornness is part of it, well, stubbornness really is a really big factor. So it can be, it stops your child going into the light, but it also, can apply to a butler who is worried about forks and knives. So she says the lesson here is that when you die, go into the light, just go, don't be stubborn. But this is her, and if you somehow miss it, then the light closes and you find yourself stuck. She says the tip is to head to a funeral home when a service is in progress. Okay. There'll be a fresh light open there for the newly deceased, and you can slip in.
Well, can you slip through somebody else's light?
Yes, apparently so. Although, again, you see the plot hole. Because surely you turn up and you go, I don't recognise any of these people. It's like going to the wrong wedding.
Yeah.
Like, I don't recognise the bride, I don't recognise the groom. So you're just like, oh, don't mind me, I'm just popping in. I don't really get that.
I went to a wrong wedding once.
Did you?
Well, not quite a wrong wedding. Got invited to it and turned up at the church, and it was barely knew the person, and I think it was through like a work colleague of my partner's, And we walked in, and it was just close family. There was about 8 people, and us.
No.
And they politely went, "Hello, oh, really nice to see you." And it was like, we're not supposed to be here. Wasn't our fault. They, by mistake, we were invited to the evening, but they sent the wrong invite.
Oh, interesting. So at what point did you leave?
We stayed. They said, "Oh, look, you're here now," because the thing wasn't until the evening. Well, I think we said, "Look, this is kind of intimate thing for your family. We'll go." And they were like, "No, it's fine. Just, just stay."
So a very similar-ish. When my sister was married, she had a cake. You know how people, rather than having a wedding cake, people like have a cake competition.
Right.
And I was very proud. We made a Toblerone cheesecake,
nice,
which was kind of one of my signature dishes.
Well, that sounds good.
And we were all putting our cakes at the back of the room. It was in a barn, like a barn in the Cotswolds.
Yeah.
And I overheard this couple going, "I didn't know there was a cake thing." I'm like, "No, nor did I. I tell you what, I can go into town and go and buy one." And I was thinking, I don't think they probably need to do that. And so I'd had a couple of beers, and so I sort of said, "Look, I really won't worry. Look, there's so many cakes here. Anyway, who are you? Who do you know?" And I mentioned the name of my sister and the groom, and then they looked at each other and went, "Who?"
We're at the wrong wedding.
And they were at the wrong wedding, but they were so into it. They had already drunk too much to drive away.
Right.
They had got the weekend wrong. They were a weekend early.
So they got the date wrong.
They got the date wrong.
Oh.
I told my sister, and she was like, "Look, just invite them to stay. We've got a couple of people that haven't turned up. They can eat food there."
How sweet.
But they were too embarrassed to stay because they were on big tables, people who knew each other. But I just love that idea of they were like, "Should we get a taxi and go and buy a cake?"
So can you imagine being sat at the table? How do you know them? Oh, we've never met them. We just we're a week early for another wedding.
But you could get away with it because there's always like one person, it turns out it was like the bride's best friend when he was 8 or something.
Right, yeah.
And he turns up alone, like with it'll always be a bottle in a bag.
Yeah.
Because he's been single all his life and he hasn't got, he's never wrapped a present his entire life. And he's just gone, "Oh, no, I better take a present. I know, I'll take some fizz," which is always Frisian, in a fancy bag.
But also bringing it back to Mary Ann and her grandmother, I think you said, going to funerals, they'd have the same, wouldn't they? People would be going, "Who the heck are they? Who's the woman with the child?" And they'd have to go, "Oh, no idea who they are. We're just here because we just want to look at the ghosts." You'd be like,
we just help your loved one through the portal. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Is that all right with you? Yeah. By the way, can we have a sausage roll in the wake? Is that okay?
But this, sneaking through somebody else's portal, I'm not sure how that works. And what do you do when you get to the other side? You have to find somebody and say, "I'm lost."
Yeah, I think... I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know how it works. And we will...
I thought we'd agreed we're going to say we do know how it works.
Sorry. Yeah, we do know how it works. And you have to subscribe to our Substack.
Yeah.
I don't know. And look, you have to take it at face value. One of the things that I haven't covered in this conversation is the other bit where we talk about the dark entities she's encountered and the rules around that. I'm going to do that in the extra scoop, not just because it's fun for that, but that's definitely not suitable for kids. But I think it's a lovely set of stories, and there's loads of stories like that I've spoken about. And it's basically like an episode of Quantum Leap. Yeah. She turns up, finds out who's doing it, goes, "Oh, look, you don't need to do that," and off they go. Which is, you see what I mean about it being TV ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I'm thinking, what's those big American channels that... almost like Peacock or the
HBO.
One. No, not HBO. I was thinking more the ones.
Lifetime.
Yes, or the one Hallmark.
Yes.
Hallmark. That's the one I was thinking of. A Hallmark series.
Yes.
Do you remember when that the guy from Little House on the Prairie? He was an angel for a while, wasn't he? I can't remember what that was.
Stairway to Heaven.
That's what I'm thinking of. I could see it as that because it's a great concept and a great plot mechanic, is it not?
It's a great plot mechanic. I mean, it's so good you'd almost want Harry Seacombe to...
And you've got an ending because she makes them go through the light in the end.
Yes, always hoping that his last leap is the last.
Yeah,
it's the
cliffhanger. Will the butler go through or not?
Well, no, cliffhanger is she turns up at the next house, and then there's like this. I don't know. There's a woman there dressed like an airline pilot who's tripping people over, and she's like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah.
And that's where that slight comedic element also makes it acceptable for audiences. It's not like she's addressing people. I mean, there's a little bit of an element to this, but you would have thought that she would have encountered a lot more people who are like, although she does deal with the child poisoner, I would have felt there'd be a lot more traumatic murders and, molestations and really dark things that would really screw people over, drug addictions, things like that. And there's very few of those. There's very few. It is much more like, I don't like to see these golf balls be a mess, so I'm going to stay here and tidy them up.
But if we're back to kind of, what was it, Stairway to Heaven? Is that what it was called? Yeah. So, but in a way that if it's Hallmark or Peacock or whatever those channels are called, you don't want it too heavy, do you? You want it feel good, Little House on the Prairie-esque, don't you?
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
It's perfect for that, isn't it? It's perfect for that. I wanted to just say one more thing about, I thought it was interesting that her views on hauntings in a way, or curses, I think you
Curses,
described.
yeah.
Because I was thinking about the waitress. So is she saying the waitress wasn't cursed, but that you could see why the waitress might believe that she was cursed, right?
Yes, and the reason why the man was doing that wasn't because he was cursed either. There's no curses involved in any of this.
I see what you mean.
And there was no fear involved in that particular one.
Yeah.
He's just angry that he can't eat food anymore.
Yeah.
And so that is his way of showing his anger because he doesn't know how else to release it.
Yeah.
And that does sort of make sense. It logically it makes sense, but I just wonder. That scene is so perfectly set up for, I can see how they would dress that. I can see how the whole episode would play out.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole load of slapstick there as well as the crossing over. Look,
I've got episode 1 as well, because your opening scene would be her talking to somebody, but you don't realise until after a couple of minutes that she's talking to a ghost.
Exactly, yeah. Well, that is When Ghosts Speak, Understanding the World of Earthbound Spirits by Mary Ann Winkowski. And if you did watch that show, she was played by Jennifer Love Hewitt in the series.
Right.
And that is why Mary Ann Winkowski now lives in a massive manor house, probably. And
with lots of silver cutlery.
Yeah, with lots of silver cutlery.
Wow.
And children's electronic toys.
Oh, so it's good. Interesting, though. What I like about that kind of episode is, like you said, there's a bit of me that goes, how can that be right? There's skepticism there. But I think coming back to that, Hallmark Peacock angle to it, it means we can really explore it as an idea. Do you know what I mean? As a concept. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. And it just means that when we're talking as well about what all these things mean, and we've had a load of different ideas about what ghosts are on the pod recently, this is a very much more traditional view of ghosts, I would say. This is very much more I was going to say a sanitized view. It is a sort of a sanitized view because it ignores all the other elements that I would call a sort of in the world of apparitions and ghosts. It ignores the ones which are, the dark spirits that hang around places that you only see a flash of, a cowl or something like that. And it's trying to pass on a message. So, for example, if we took the Enfield poltergeist as something that was in this sphere, would that fit in? Well, possibly, although he seems to relish in causing havoc, and when the ghost speaks, that seems to relish in causing havoc. Is that because he's trying to feed off the energy, as she said? Well, maybe it does sort of fit in there, but it doesn't fit in with ones where there are sort of notes scribbled on the wall and things like that, unless those notes are stop collecting cutlery or whatever, which is possible. But I don't know. I find it all too easy. It's the same as, little green men come from Mars. Yeah. Ghosts haven't walked through the light. Everything's fine. Have a cup of tea and a piece of cake and we'll watch some Disney. It feels to me that.
Yeah. Is that Toblerone cheesecake?
Oh, yeah.
Does she, because what I'm interested in as well, does she write about, because if it's true, the bit that just blows my mind, probably more than the stories, are her life of just seeing these things all the time. Yes. What is that like? Is that a curse? Does she get freaked out? Was there any of that in the book, or is it just here are my stories?
No, what's her view is that it's always happened.
Right, so it's just her norm.
Yes, yeah, and it's something that isn't strange to her because it's there now. She doesn't know why. As I say, there's an inkling that it sort of comes down the family line, and because her grandmother, she doesn't make it clear whether her grandmother could do exactly the same as her, but it seems like she could. So that would sort of work with what we know about matriarchal lines passing down paranormal abilities. That sort of fits. But again, don't you think that's a little bit too Disney to do it? But again, I don't know anything. I've never met the woman, so I'm not judging. I'm just pointing out the perhaps.
Well, that's your spin-off series, isn't it? It's a prequel with Granny Mary.
Yes, yeah. Well, and then we could go back to I don't know,
follow the lineage.
Go back to the 1920s.
Yeah.
And it's the same show, but she goes around on a horse.
Yeah.
We can even use the same scripts. we just substitute getting a taxi for getting into a carriage.
Horse,
getting in a horse.
Fair enough. I like that.
Right, let's get in our horses and proceed down the track of the extra scoop.
In terms of next week, absolutely no idea. Haven't even started thinking about it yet, so we'll see what I can muster up.
You need the shelf elves to nudge a book in your direction.
Something like that. Knowing I need a 2-week period to read and do the thing, so I haven't got time for that, so I'm going to have to think of something else. But I've got 2 ideas, which maybe I'll post something on Patreon and see which one people like, and I'll do.
Well, we mentioned on the Extra Scoop that we are appearing at the Strange Days Festival in Wiltshire at the beginning of September. I'm taking a whole week off work next week to write what that is going to be. We're basically going to do a live version of the podcast. But again, I'm not sure what that is, so I've got next week to work out what that is. And but rest assured that we will. So look up the Strange Days Festival at the Barge Inn in Wiltshire, and you will see us on the 4th of September. And Dom Jolly is on the stage the following day, so it's worth coming for Dom Jolly.
Yeah, cool. Also, very, very quick, I just wanted to mention Paul Dude 000, who left us, I think, a really, really lovely review on Spotify, which I've pinned because it kind of, it really touched me. I'm not going to read it out now, but thanks, Paul, dude, for that. It was really, really, really kind words, and thank you.
It was so good, I might have it tattooed on my leg.
It's quite a long one.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I'll just use a
quite
very
long leg. All right.
It's quite round.
We will hopefully hear some of you on Ben and Peter's Extra Scoop on patreon.com/TQMpod. Come and join us there. If not, we will see you next week with the Quantum Mechanics.
Take care. Good night.
See ya.
Goodbye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?